Good morning, folks. This is Deb Delapierre, and this is your chain reaction report, because I feel as though this is going to be, longer than 10 minutes, or to be a short take. We're going to talk a little bit today. We're going to move forward. All of this leading up to November is going to be GOP based. And really, I feel as though after November, it's going to remain GOP based, because this isn't just going to go away, even if the Democrats manage to hang on to the House and add on to the Senate. The GOP is now, for lack of a better term, a terrorist organization, a lethal entity in America, and an affront to democracy on all levels. We're just going to go through some news this morning. These little, morning coffee routines here are not meant for me to read to you. They're meant for me to expose you to just exactly what's going on, what the GOP is doing. And there's plenty of information to back me up. It is in the video. All you need to do is go into the description and look at the links. And we urge you to do this, folks. I mean, there is no news in memes, okay? Memes are memes. They serve a purpose, but they are neither the carriers of truth or the final word, okay? They started as entertainment. And I'd like to remind you that they started on the right side, not on the left side. They invented the meme because they are small thinkers. I don't know what to tell you. So we're going to talk about a few things this morning, and I'm not going to, keep you long. I'm going to try to end this as quickly as possible because I have to go to work and I got other things to do before that. So let's start. We're going to start. So hang on a second here. It's always a challenge for me early in the morning, I must say. So here we are. This is what we're going to start with this morning. For me, this is a very uplifting article, and I think that's a good way to start the morning, every morning if we can. So what we have going on here in Trump land, which we will talk about a little further on down the line here, is the two women who are waging a battle with Donald Trump and his legal team. Two women who are graduates of Howard University. One is Letitia James in New York. The other is Fani Willis in Georgia. Letitia James is taking on, the Trump organization in terms of its business practices. As you know by now, she has sued Donald Trump and his family, all three of his children, for fraud as to the way they handle their business practices, which is overinflating the values of their properties to gain favor when it comes to loans. The suit actually calls for Donald Trump to never be able to do business in New York again, and prevents the Trump organization and family from buying properties in New York for 5 years. She has also made a criminal referral to both the DOJ and the IRS for what she has learned in what has amounted to a 3-year investigation. None of this is just made up shit. This has been a 3-year investigation that started by and large with Michael Cohen. So all of this is intertwined with all of that. Actually, it's 3.5 years. I stand corrected right here. 3.5 years. That started when Michael Cohen, Trump's former attorney, told Congress about alleged shady and possibly unlawful dealings by Trump. And, she is to be commended. And she knew that this would bring significant attacks from the right. And, she's stood up to that. It should be noted here, however, that Letitia James also went after Andrew Cuomo and made criminal referrals on him as well. She is not partisan by any state, any sense, in any sense of the word. She is actually a woman who does her job. which is quite refreshing. It doesn't matter to me what side corruption is on. It needs to be rooted out. I'm, totally on board with anything that goes on with the Democrats gets exposed. We always have been. But Letitia James, she is to be commended, as is Fannie Willis in Georgia, who is leading the investigation primarily into the fake elector scheme. And, to Fannie Willis's credit, she is not fixated on Trump. But she is into the whole social justice and public service fight. And, she is, as they say here in this article, which is a great one, an equal opportunity crime fighter. And she arrested 26 people in gang-related activity in the metro Atlanta area. And her statement about those arrests were, quote, "We have a message. Get out of this county or expect to start seeing sentences that go life plus, because I am not going to negotiate with gang members. I am not going to allow pleas. We are going to fine you. We are going to convict you, and we're going to send you to prison for the rest of your days. And I'm not apologizing for that." Now, these are two women that to me represent the best of the best. And, I must say that in my heart of hearts, I am actually quite thrilled that they are both people of color, because Donald Trump has proven himself to be a master racist. I'm not holding any of that shit back. He's a master racist, as is most of the GOP. I'm sorry, folks, but you call it as you see it. When they're out there and they're telling you exactly what they are, you state it. So Fannie Willis, Letitia James, I don't know, maybe Letitia James can get a hold of that there Trump Tower, and they can name it the Letitia James Tower. That would certainly raise the blood pressure of the orange jackaloon, which would make me very happy. Moving on to the next nightmare from the GOP, Doug Mastriano. This Nazi is running for governor of Pennsylvania. And by the way, this article is by none other than George F. Will. This is in the Washington Post. And he names a number of things that that are disturbing about Mastriano. So one of the things is that he likes to buck the trend of giving the electorate what they want, the voters. And, honestly, there are times in history when some of the things we all want out here aren't the best things for us, but this is not the case with Mr. Mastriano here. For example, on abortion, he wants to outlaw completely, with no exceptions, for rape, incest, or the mother's life. And that appeals to about 8% of the American people. And I'm guaranteeing you that the 8% are the staunch maggots. And I am using that term quite deliberately, because that's what they are. We don't spell it like maggots, but that's the intent. I make no bones about that. He also opposes same-sex marriage, which is actually the American people favor by 71%. And when we're talking about these kinds of things, these aren't just policy issues. These are things that are rights that have been bestowed upon the people. Women have a right to make their own medical decisions, okay? The Supreme Court basically overturned a 50-year standard by doing what they did. And that was entirely politically motivated. End of story, okay? They had plenty of pressure from, the religious right. They had plenty of pressure from the GOP who wanted to give the religious right what they wanted. They stacked the court, the GOP did, Donald Trump specifically, for this sole purpose. So to say that this is a ruling based in law is bullshit from the word go. So, according to Will here, he is a human cafeteria dispensing ample portions of all the spicy fear that causes many Republicans to salivate and gives most voters indigestion. So he was at the U.S. Capitol and he used campaign funds to rent buses to bring some supporters to the U.S. Capitol. Now, according to him, he was not inside the Capitol. He also raises much of his money on platforms that are frequented by anti-Semites, and one who was accused of murdering 11 at a Pittsburgh synagogue in 2018. These are your people who are running for fucking office, folks, okay? These are people running for office in the United States of America, okay? This isn't some fucking third world country, although the GOP is bringing us to that level very rapidly. The thing that makes him the most dangerous, however, he wants to appoint a Secretary of State, because in some states they are not elected. They are appointed by the governor. I believe Florida is another one, which, to give that kind of power to a Ron DeSantis is also a disaster. He has vowed to appoint a Secretary of State, quote, who's delegated from me the power to make the corrections to elections, the voting logs, and everything. And I can decertify every voting machine in the state. To put that kind of, let me just put it this way. The House just passed a law that does not give the vice president of the nation total control over certification of the national election. It gives them only oversight. This is the same situation in these states where they can appoint the Secretary of State and wield supreme executive power. Okay, one man should never have that kind of power. And that one man to be Doug Mastriano is a disaster. This is a man who took a picture in a Confederate uniform. Okay, Doug Mastriano is a fucking dumpster fire for democracy. Okay. He does not care about democracy. He does not care about what the people want on any level. We understand out here that it's not always as simple as we think it is, but this guy is a clear and present danger, folks. The people in Philadelphia, people in Pennsylvania had best wake up. They have two dumpster fires going at the same time. The other one is Dr. Oz, but we're not talking about that loser today. We'll talk about that loser another day. Let's move right along here to Donald Trump's legal woes. He had to have a special master, He had to have it. It was just one of those things. And he got Aileen Cannon, who is a judge ill-equipped to be on the bench. And she granted his special master, admitting, as she did so, that she gave extra weight to Donald Trump because he was a president. Well, quite frankly, that is not the way judges act. Judges act on what we call the rule of law. And not only did he request the special master, but it was the Trump team that picked Raymond Dearie. And Raymond Dearie is now becoming a burr in Donald Trump's ample ass. And, I watched a video not long ago from MSNBC that said that this could very well be a problem for Donald Trump because Judge Dearie has a pretty solid history. So what is it that Raymond Dearie has done to create problems for Herr Trump? He has told Donald Trump and his attorneys to put up a shut up. He wants them to present evidence that the FBI planted evidence at Mar-a-Lago. And that is something that Donald Trump does not want to do. Because if they lie and they can't produce said evidence, they could be charged with perjury. This is not a good legal situation here. This is the problem with everybody on the right and the GOP. They fail to understand that when you make allegations, you actually have to be able to back that up in a court of law beyond a reasonable doubt. That's how the American legal systems work. And that's why we have Merrick Garland taking the time and putting the effort into his investigation of the Trump administration or the Trump regime or whatever you want to call them, the crime syndicate, whatever it is that you want to describe them as, because he wants to make goddamn sure his evidence is solid and can be presented in a court of law, and he can be successful at getting what he needs, because he does not operate in the court of public opinion, and neither does Raymond Dearie. And neither does Donald Trump, and neither do his attorneys when he brings something to court and when he calls for a special master who is now requesting that he present evidence that proves there was documentation planted by the FBI at Mar-a-Lago. And by the way, if that evidence was planted, why does he want it back? You know? You got to ask yourself that question, because it's logic. But, we know the people on the right don't employ logic. They really just don't, or they employ their own twisted logic. And he has, by the way, until the 30th to deliver said information. Today is the 24th. If you've got that information, you have it in hand. You have what you need to turn that over. Let's just do it. Okay? Let's just do it. Moving right along here, maybe. So let's talk about Aileen Cannon, the judge who was at the center of the shitstorm that granted Trump's special master. She has now backtracked. She has amended her order, and that is right here for you to all read. Okay? She responded to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, who basically trashed her decision about the special master and ruled that the DOJ investigation of the classified documents can resume. So they have already been removed from the view of Raymond Dearie. Okay, he is no longer looking at those documents. The DOJ investigation is back on track again. All right. So she has now stricken 2 sections of her original order, and legal experts say this now makes it difficult to impossible for Donald Trump to bring this up to the Supreme Court. And that is as it should be. And by the way, let me talk about the 11th Circuit Court that, Donald Trump's genius blonde bimbo legal team on Twitter says is out of line. 2 of the 3 judges that ruled against him were appointed by him. So they're not all hacks, but Aileen Cannon, she's a hack. And, this is fitting as in 4 days we have the J6 committee back. And not a moment too soon, I might add. They will be back on the 28th of September with a 1 p.m. time for another video presentation. And as we move back into this, we continue to hear, rumblings in the right-wing community that all of this wasn't planned. It was just kind of something that got out of hand. Well, you know what? The Proud Boys have given us evidence that is actually not true. They planned meticulously for street-level violence. Street-level violence, by the way, we found a listing of things that, the GOP, the right wing, is against. And on their list of things, we haven't discussed it yet, but we will get to that it's in some show. An elimination of Antifa street violence. Oh, please, people, spare me the agony. Antifa hasn't been on the street for months. Antifa was not fucking at the J6 insurrection. They did not take part in it. They weren't dressed as maggots. And, doing this, these people film themselves and put themselves on fucking social media. And worst of all, they had a distinct, indefinite, meticulous plan right here. Warning, confidential and proprietary information. New York City MAGA March. right here, 23 pages of detail about how they were going to take over buildings and every other manner of bullshit. And if you don't want to go here and strain yourself, we'll just give you this as well in the video, and you can just download it and read it for yourself. You can sit right here and freaking scroll through it. It's even got a table of contents. Anybody who thinks this wasn't a planned event right now is a bona fide idiot. And then we move on to the next liar in the GOP, and that would be Ron DeSantis, who is, you know, it says right here, DeSantis is lying his way back into Florida's governor's mansion. And by the way, this is the Miami Herald, an excellent newspaper, by the way, which I subscribe to. Now, Ron DeSantis is alleging that these people are not eligible to come into this country. In fact, he went to Miami-Dade College, where he said that, quote, most of these people clearly do not qualify for asylum. Ron DeSantis is not involved at that level, and he has no knowledge of that. And, you know, Ron DeSantis used these people who, by the way, were escaping the hideous, oppressive regime in Venezuela. Many of these people had traveled through countries to get out of Venezuela to get to the United States. Some of these people had injuries, and he used them as political pawns in his little game as he makes his run for the presidency, because ultimately, you know what? Yeah, he'll take the governorship again, but he's got his sights set on much bigger shit. Much bigger shit. After he destroys the state of Florida, he plans on bringing his little fascist roadshow national. Okay? And it should be noted here, duly noted, that he pulled the same stunt and was going to fly migrants to Joe Biden's summer home, and he stiffed them. He made them sign all kinds of documents, and then the airline never showed up to take them. You know, this is unacceptable in the United States of America. The United States of America, which is supposedly a beacon of freedom and caring. And, you know, this has all been changed by the narrative of the right, okay? It's all been changed by the narrative of the right. And Donald Trump was the fucking gasoline on this dumpster fire now. We live in dumpster fire, you know, USA. And if you don't want to believe that Venezuela is an oppressive nation, you can read this UN report. Nothing could be further from the truth, okay? The country is being ruled with an iron fist. And by the way, you know what? Anyone who thinks that this can't happen here isn't paying attention. I want to remind everybody that what happened in Nazi Germany happened because the German people ignored what was going on. In a large part, we do the same thing here. We had best be awake for the midterms, folks. We are now not far away from that, under 2 months. And these people need to be voted out, because it is not possible for the DOJ to arrest everybody. You know, they have got to investigate before arresting. This is what I'm trying to impress upon you. Yes, we want them to do that. And they are making progress, and they are doing it. It is not a quick fix. But you know what? We here out in America, we operate in the court of public opinion, and our opinion matters. And we can best give everybody that opinion by voting these cretins out while we can. Because if they take over in 2022, I'm going to guarantee you it is the last clean election you will see in this country. I am not overstating this, people. I am not. This shit's right in front of you now. And we close with this. The GOP is all stressed out about Trump's legal woes. And do you think that they care about Trump's legal woes because they care about you and me? The fact of the matter is they care because it's going to affect the election. Well, you know what? Let's make this unease total distraught by voting them out. You know, there is a cause and effect thing in this country, okay? You piss people off, you lose your job. You know what? We can fire these people just by filling out a ballot. We don't have to provide any probable cause for any of that. So let's just fucking do it, okay? And by the way, let me close by saying to the maggots who follow me on YouTube, I really don't give a shit what your opinion is. I must say, your opinion of me matters not. Okay? Here's where I am. I'm not discussing shit with the right anymore. There is no way for us to commiserate on these issues. They are very far to the right. I am very far to the left. I believe everybody's civil rights need to be guaranteed. I'm going to warn you right now, they are not just satisfied with the Supreme Court. We are going to discuss this. They want to amend the Constitution. Anybody who allows the Constitution to be opened in this kind of an atmosphere gets what they deserve. People, you cannot overstate where we are in America right now. All right. It is time for the people to take this in hand. And I'm not talking about invading the Capitol, because you know something, that shit ain't going to work. We saw that. That doesn't mean they won't do it again, but we saw that it didn't work. We're not talking about that. We can do this at the ballot box, and we just need to. I'll talk to you all later.